so many mental health issues also exist in our countries, partly because there is unused energy, right?
I was always a kind of a person who would not speak up.
I think one has to step out, which like brings me to my next point, roughly speaking. So I see this trend आजकल शायद आपने भी देखा होगा कि people just want to stay, like for us youth specifically speaking, people just want to stay with their parents till 24, 25. And I like to bring this counter argument that you should go out and become a more competent person. So like what do you feel on such people, like roughly speaking आपने देखा होगा आसपास, right, that people are not willing to experiment उतना ज्यादा, अपने comfort zone से बाहर नहीं जाना चाहते, which makes them smarter and healthier in the long run, right? Most of them just want to stay with their own parents. Like why do you think that is happening with youth these days, roughly speaking? Like they're too settled in their comfort zone, right? I think you might have had such
Yeah.
experiences. So any perspectives, opinions you'd like to share?
Again, as you just said, it's about the comfort zone. They're
Hmm.
too comfortable in what they're doing. They just
Hmm.
don't want to see what's out there, or maybe they know what's out there and they just kind of are focusing on the difficulties of doing it and not thinking in a long term
Hmm.
perspective.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
I was always someone who would say, मैं तो I think school के बाद ही कहती थी that I want to move out. I want to stay in a very in a different city, far away. And my parents always used to ask me why would you want to do that?
Hmm.
And I just had no answer, but I knew that I want to do this. I want to see how it goes. मुझे भी
Hmm.
देखना है कि how
Hmm.
I can do things on my own, manage things on my own. And I think that particular thing has helped me a lot to discover myself, to find myself, and to kind of figure out what kind of a person I am and
Hmm.
how I can deal with life. So I
Hmm.
think that's very important, but a lot of people are very hesitant to try
Hmm.
it just because they are focusing more on the difficulties part of it.
Or maybe focusing on the hormonal part of it, on their hormones specifically speaking. I have a lot of like
Could
technically,
be.
yeah, I have a, like technically a lot of hot female friends, roughly speaking. So when I just check their Instagrams and all, I see like 12 to 18 people on a daily basis hitting on them. Like I personally find that if you have so much energy, maybe you can just direct it in a more productive pursuit for that matter and just change your life. But yeah, like just delving a little further on this topic, I think one of the reasons so many mental health issues also exist in our country is partly because there is unused energy, right? People are not directing
Unused
their
energy.
energies in a more productive way. Of course, there are sensitive issues, but I think that like it happens, right? Predominantly, that if people are not maybe just using their intellect or let's say just experimenting things, they tend to be prone, like they are prone to more anxiety or something of those sorts, because self esteem अपनी नजर में नीचे हो जाती है इंसान की. So what do you feel on this perspective? Like I know you also come from a very sensitive mental health issue as well, so maybe we can talk on that later, but yeah, just wanted to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think that's very true because of low self-esteem. That's the main point that triggers it, is
Hmm.
what I feel.
Hmm.
And the main problem, I think, that they are not ready to address it.
Hmm.
Everybody has issues. I mean, everybody is going through something, but they're just not ready to address it or accept it that it's a mental health issue. They just tend to ignore it and move ahead. And that's still I don't think that's their fault. It's just the stigma around mental health.
Hmm. Hmm.
Not a lot of people take it well,
Hmm.
and they don't have a lot of people to speak to. If they have people to speak to, they don't have good listeners around. So I think all of these things just
Hmm. Hmm.
boils down to what they've been going through and
Hmm.
how they're not addressing it well.
Yes, agreed. I think yeah, definitely there's a culture which needs to be built around. Which like brings me to the next point. Like, how were your mental health experiences? You can remember on the last call that we have had that you were sharing some of those anxiety issues that you were prone to, right? So if like
Yeah.
you're comfortable sharing with the audience some of those experiences, maybe it might help them that how you were able to like just channelize your energy, go through that rough phase, and then like just come out of it in a more productive and joyful phase.
Um, I think. I was always a kind of a person who would not speak up,
Hmm.
who would not share a lot of things. And I did not know the joy of sharing things until I did it.
Hmm.
And I think whenever I used to, face anything, so I am a very sensitive person.
हाँ जी.
I think I was a very sensitive person. I
Hmm.
don't know if I'm still a very sensitive person, but I'm definitely better than what I was before.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I do a lot of overthinking and, very trivial issues, they trigger me and all of that stuff. But I never used to share it with anyone. And I just thought that maybe I'm weak, but I don't want to tell it to a lot of people because they look up to me, or maybe they don't think of me that way.
Hmm.
So I think I realized it very late that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's
Hmm.
okay to speak about things.
Hmm.
So it's been a journey. Yes, it's been a journey, and I've had my lows, and I think I've learned from it. Um, and I just want to say on this part that today I'm okay with being vulnerable. I don't think 2 years back I was really okay with it.
Hmm.
But if any one of you watching who has been into therapy, I think the first session they teach you about how normal it is to be vulnerable and how we should embrace it. And I think that is one learning I took from it and have been,
Hmm.
embracing it still.
Hmm.
So I think to understand and to accept that, having a mental health issue or having anxiety or panic attacks or any of that sort is okay and it's very normal. That is the first step, and that helps you a long way. And then obviously find a good listener. At all costs, you should find someone who
Hmm.
you can talk to. It could be a stranger, it could be a loved one, a close one,
Hmm.
anyone, but just find a good listener who can talk to you and who can just maybe listen to you, who you can talk to. So these are two very important things that one must do.
Hmm.
And yeah, that helps. It's not
Hmm.
like your issues will, go away just like that, but I think you'll learn to handle them better.
Hmm. 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 Agreed. So, like, just asking you something. Who were your listeners? Who were your close listeners?
I think it's my sister.
Hmm.
So for a very long time, I did not open up. I
Hmm.
did not, used to tell anyone about what's going on in my mind. I used to take
Hmm.
that happy face to everywhere and just be normal. But then lately, I've been so open that my sister has kind of, she sits next to me and I start crying and I tell her that even I don't know I'm crying, and she's just like, okay, take your time.
Hmm.
And when I'm done, I share things with her. I tell her that, I think this is something that is bothering me.
Hmm.
And she just listens to me. She
Hmm.
listens very patiently and she
Hmm.
never gives an opinion or anything. And she's like, okay,
Hmm.
you know how to deal with it. I think you're strong enough. Or even if you're not strong, I think this will heal and you'll get better.
Hmm.
So I'm fortunate enough to have her in my life, and also quite a few friends
Hmm.
who kind of, be there and just call me up, ask me how am I doing when they know that I'm low. So all these little things, they help a lot.
Hmm. 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 Definitely. Yeah, I think because the idea of listening, what I find among people is that ठीक है हम सुनेंगे नहीं, हम वेट करेंगे, हम अपना ओपिनियन कब देंगे ताकि हम एक चौड़ दिखा सके कि हमें पता
Correct,
है, हमें सॉल्व कैसे करना है प्रॉब्लम. दैट इज नॉट लिसनिंग, दैट्स जस्ट मेकिंग योर ईगो शाइन. एंड जैसे आई थिंक यू ऑल्सो पॉइंटेड
correct,
आउट ब्यूटिफुली दैट वी काइंड ऑफ लिव फॉर अ इमेज एंड हम उस इमेज की एक्सपेक्टेशंस में ही डूब जाते हैं, राइट? लाइक always always just being comparing
correct.
ourselves to that ideal self and just hurting ourselves, I think, in the long run. So yeah, I think that's definitely true on one level. So like I know that